is good. Alright. Good morning, everyone. This is the Hurricane Watch team bringing you the latest update on Tropical Storm Francine. As of 10 a.m. Central Time, the National Hurricane Center has issued new warnings as Francine continues its track across the western Gulf of Mexico. Let's dive into the latest details. Currently, Tropical Storm Francine is located at 24.9 degrees north latitude at 95.6 degrees west longitude. It is roughly 120 miles southeast of the mouth of the Rio Grande and 420 miles southwest of Morgan City, Louisiana. The storm is moving north-northeast at 8 miles an hour with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles an hour. This system is expected to strengthen into a hurricane later today or tonight as it tracks towards the Louisiana coast. Over this past several hours, we have seen much more convection near the center. Overnight, dry air intrudes into the storm, limiting any further convection and strengthening with the system. However, we're seeing more convection near the center, which is allowing the storm to intensify and the air pressure to drop. However, fortunately, we have not seen an increase in wind speed. It remains at 65 miles an hour. New warnings have been issued as Francine approaches the coast. A storm surge warning is now in effect from High Island, Texas to the Mississippi-Alabama border, including Lake Pontchartrain. A tropical storm warning has also been issued for parts of the Mississippi coast east of the mouth of the Pearl River to the Mississippi and Alabama border, and a tropical storm watch is in place for the Alabama coast. Something I do want to mention regarding this here is if the chance that, the storm makes landfall here and is closer to Lake Pontchartrain, there would be onshore flow causing some storm surge pushing into areas north of Lake Pontchartrain. There would be much more heavier amounts of rainfall over New Orleans, Louisiana, and that would cause much more flooding, which is a bit of an issue that we're looking at, something we don't want. So that's going to have to be something that we closely monitor as the storm gets closer. Where is it going to line up at? But if it's farther west, and we see more of the onshore flow into the Bay Vermilion and Bay Vermilion here, we would see the winds funneling the waves into the Vermilion Bay, causing much more intense storm surge. Talk a little bit more about storm surge here. It is one of the greatest threats with Francine in any tropical system. Its surge heights are expected to be 5 to 10 feet and are expected anywhere from Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge to Port Fourchon, Louisiana, with 3 to 5 feet possible along the coast from Point La Hache, Louisiana, to the Mississippi-Alabama border, including Lake Pontchartrain. I want to talk a little bit about the rainfall potentials here. The rainfall totals could reach anywhere from 4 to 8 inches from localized areas east of Lake Charles. Could be upwards of a foot, 12 inches across portions of Louisiana and Mississippi through Friday. And this could lead to considerable flash flooding and urban flooding, so please stay alert and follow any evacuation orders from officials. Tornado risk isn't on here, but it is something I want to talk about. No, I do not see a graphic for a tornado threat here. So we're just going to leave it on this here side over here. So there's always, we cannot forget about the potential of tornadoes. There are a few tornadoes that are possible, particularly near coastal areas of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida from Wednesday morning through Wednesday night. Particularly, this back up here. Really particularly on the east side, New Orleans, Louisiana, Mobile, Alabama, and portions of the panhandle of Florida as well. So we have to see. We will see this on the radar loop as the storm gets closer. We'll see those tornado warnings come in, and it's going to be something that we're going to closely watch and monitor. And we will have a live stream of it tomorrow afternoon into the evening as Tropical Storm, potentially by that point, Hurricane Francine, possibly Hurricane Francine, approaches the coast. So you can see where all the hurricane and hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, tropical storm watches extending as far as into Mississippi, Alabama as well. They are right near the coast of Florida. And also even tropical storm warnings for extreme southeast Texas, including Sabine Pass. Flash flooding, again, is a moderate potential, particularly east of Lake Charles. Unfortunately, New Orleans, Louisiana is in the bullseye of that, where we could see very heavy amounts of rain. Again, 8 to 12 inches is possible for localized area. One thing I want to mention is rain and water are the biggest cause of death when it comes to tropical systems. It is the wind, although that can cause deaths as well. It is particularly the water. Water is the number one leading cause of death. Storm surge can come in very, very fast. We saw, if you remember back in 2013, Typhoon Haiyan, there was a huge wall of water that came right on through. And so we got to watch the storm surge along specifically the coastal areas, and also the flooding from freshwater flooding. Alright, so the HRR indicates it to become a hurricane by late this evening. Well, we will see. I'm going to actually look at the satellite or the forecast models with this. Hurricane HRR. Is this HRR? Is it mesoscale? Mesoscale. Alright. Late this evening, 1 p.m. See, like, it says 993, but and this is, okay, so, first of all, it doesn't show it gets really to 990 for another 8 hours. But they've already found air pressure in the center of the storm at 988 millibars. Here, I'll go to aircraft reconnaissance, show that for y'all. There it is, 989 millibars is what we have found. At flight level, we have found 60 knots, 55 to 60 knots, which is 70 miles an hour at flight level. Really think we're finding winds could be closer to, I feel like 65 to 70 miles an hour is not unlikely there at the surface. Which we're now starting to see 988, 989, that turn off to the northeast now. So given that we are seeing that turn to the northeast, as well as that air pressure below 990 millibars. As if this continues, I do expect the storm to continue to intensify, and by this afternoon we see a hurricane. Alright, going to the HRR model. I don't know why I keep putting that. Going down here into the south central United States. So, but then as it moves away from Mexico, it's going to get into the more humid air. The air will be more humid, there'll be more moisture available, and it'll begin to wrap the entire core around with moisture. As you can see, that air pressure it does drop almost below 980 millibars by the end of the frame there at 18 hours. This is showing way stronger than it's going to be. I do not believe it will be that strong. 959 millibars rather than 70 millibars does seem rather strong. But again, it's something we're going to have to watch closely with this system. Shows here that it is at, again, it's at 989 millibars right now, and it says in 5 hours it will be at 990 millibars. but I do not see it deepening that quickly. I do not think it's going to deepen that quickly. However, there could still be some dry air. So again, I do not think that this particular model is going to be accurate. Usually, it overestimates always. So to expect this to become 949 millibars is a bit of an exaggeration. Again, look at all this dry air on this side intruding in. I just don't see that happening based on this model. This model is literally showing you dry air intrusion right through here. So I don't really see this becoming 949 millibars. 975, 970, 975, 980, more likely of a possibility. Oh, what's the NAM showing here? I'm curious. Oh, that's what I'm looking at. I was thinking of the H-Wharf. The storm also showing a lot more, seems a lot more accurate, depending on when this came out. Let's go back a little bit to 3 hours, 985. So again, this is showing by 4 a.m., 985. Does not seem particularly accurate. Again, a little bit too strong. We're about 988 to 989 millibars right now. But we're gonna see how quickly this deepens upon its approach to the coast of Louisiana near Vermilion Bay. Again, you're gonna have a lot of this onshore flow here in these little crevices and valleys right through here. Excuse me, bays. Can't think of the other word, but bays is what I'm going to go with. Right through here, you could see this right here could be a line of where we could see some tornadoes right through here, but particularly where we could see some of the stronger winds right through here and some storm surge and the wind funneling the water right in that area. We could see more piling of the water right through these bays and areas here. And then you can see once this makes its way inland, we may see some more tornadoes out here in Mississippi, Alabama, close to the coastline of Florida. Wind-wise, what are we looking at? Again, we do expect this to be where we're looking at right now. 0 hours at 1 a.m. This was at 1 a.m. It was at 991 it showed. 3 hours by 10 a.m. They're showing this to be at 987. Which by 10 a.m. 987 is not too far off. It's pretty darn good. Deepens, and we do think by 7 p.m. tonight. It may take as long as 7 p.m. tonight for this to reach hurricane intensity there at 65 knots.
Okay, alright.
And then really intensifying there to over 95 knots with this system, over 100 miles an hour. There makes landfall. Hurricane. I do want to look at more of all the models, get an idea of what we're looking at here, have a better idea. Again, you go to the current hour, the current hour that it actually is, 10 a.m. There it shows 60 knots, 987 millibars. It really rapidly begins to organize, 66 knots by 7 p.m. We really have to see how long this takes before this really begins to take off. Here's the latest satellite imagery of the system. You can see there is still a little bit of that dry air intrusion, but it is doing a very good job of cutting off that dry air. And once it cuts off that dry air, that's when this is just going to take off, I think. Now that that's beginning to happen, I do believe from here on out, the next several updates as aircraft reconnaissance goes in, I do expect us to see that ticking up of the wind speeds and that decrease of the air pressure. The lower that air pressure, folks, the stronger the storm, the higher the winds are going to be. Again, some of the strongest storms, like Typhoon Tip of 1970, was 870 millibars. Hurricane Harvey, I think, was 935 millibars. But then some of the weaker storms, in this case, Tropical Storm Francine at 989 millibars, weaker. Pull up this website here. So again, we are starting to see that tick up to the east. The farther it can get its way away from the coast of Mexico, the farther it will get away from that dry air. Well, I'm curious what reconnaissance data is showing. My goodness. My goodness. So we're getting 50 knots, 60 miles an hour right here. But once we start getting those yellows and oranges and reds, once we start seeing yellows, that's when we could see some of those stronger winds. Again, 988, 989 millibars. We're really seeing the air pressure drop. As you can see, 996, and yeah, that dropped to 993, and that dropped to 988. So we're really starting to see the winds, the air pressure decrease with the winds beginning to increase. If you look at that, we have one little speck of yellow there, although I believe that was an error there. I do not believe it was it's a hurricane yet. Close. I think it's close to 70 miles an hour, but it's not quite there yet. Here is what we're looking at. It is over extremely warm sea surface temperatures. It'll be going over cooler. However, even in the oranges, we're still seeing at least 28, 29 degrees Celsius all the way up to landfall there, which will be able to support a pretty strong system there. By 12 hours out, so by 10 o'clock tonight, we do expect it to be a hurricane. We're going to see. We're going to watch and see what we got with this system. But it is closer to Mexico. It is close to Mexico. That's why we had a lot of that dry air intruding in to the storm overnight. Again, that's Category 1. We do expect this to be a Category 1 all the way up to landfall. They're no longer expecting this to be a Category 2 or stronger, which is good. Which is what we want. We do not want the storm to be strong at all. So again, in the next 24 hours, there'll be, oh wow. This is wind change. So, and then by 36 hours, it'll be a little weak. It will be beginning to weaken by that point. All right, 55 knots, 65 miles an hour. Air pressure 988 millibars. Moving to the north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. Again, we do believe we'll be making landfall there near Vermilion Bay. What else we got here? None of the models are now expecting it to reach hurricane intensity. It says in 24 hours, some of them don't even think it'll become a hurricane at all. 24 hours out from now, they believe that this will be probably a 70 to 80 mile knot hurricane, closing in on Category 2 status. But we're going to see how fast is how fast does this rapid intensification take place. Let's see how close to how fast of a hurricane are we going to get to. I think this is going to happen. Relatively speaking, I think we're going to see this really rapidly intensify relatively quickly. I think we're really going to see that happen with this system because it's moving away from the coast of Mexico. Means it'll be much more be able to work with those warmer sea surface temperatures and really rapidly intensify quicker. Recon data, again, this seems to be the strongest area of where we're seeing the winds right here, not the northeast. Usually what we got here. Alright, so again, looking at this, we do think this is going to peak at about between 90 and 100 miles an hour. And in terms of its ensembles, again, we believe it's going to make landfall near or maybe just slightly to the east of Vermilion Bay. This is, I need to save all these websites here. Closing information there. Okay. So this is where the storm is located. This is where we have the 50 knot wind field right here of 60 to 65 miles an hour. I do believe that as the storm makes its way off to the north and to the east, we will begin to start seeing the winds begin to increase. The storm is organizing. We have much more convection in the system. So with all this in place, I do expect the storm to gradually and begin to rapidly intensify. Here is the latest data on the satellite imagery. We are getting a little bit more convection in those last couple of frames. I'm going to actually see the convection beginning to pop up there. Now we're getting that convection. It's going to start wrapping around that center, and that's when we're going to really start to see the storm close off that dry air and begin to just take off. Do we have any comments, questions, or concerns? We are starting to see some of the outer bands making its way into southeast Texas, particularly southern Louisiana, and they're starting to get some of that rain moving into Louisiana, southeast Louisiana, south central Louisiana, Vermilion Bay, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, Louisiana, and also Mississippi and Alabama. We're starting to see some of those rain bands move in that area as well. I'm going to check the radar and see what we got here. Good radar site I can go to. No, I need to go to Windy, that's right. So I have it here. So and here's the storm here. Look at all this. This radar has really gotten better since we've looked at it in the past. So here are those rain bands making their way into Louisiana, particularly, and Mississippi as well. Port Sulphur. Grand Isle just got some heavy rain. Some of these rain bands are making their way farther going to make their way to the north into portions south of New Orleans. But it'll also make its way to New Orleans, Louisiana. With this rain band here, we've got another surge of moisture that's going to make its way into Intercoastal City, Morgan City, Lafayette, and potentially Cameron, Louisiana as well. We will see heavy rain and flooding like this for the rest of the not flooding. Heavy to moderate rain like this the rest of the day, but the conditions are going to only deteriorate the closer we get up to landfall. Was it the... Go back to this. I want to take a look at... Figure out how to look at the... I'm going to look at the microwave imagery. This is satellite. Microwave imagery. Storm synopsis. Goodness, experimental. Do they have the... Where the heck is it at? Lightning. Where I need, because I'm not sure where the... I'll have to look for the microwave imagery in a minute. We even have this band of rain making its way. There's an outflow boundary here. We do have some rain just kind of stationary there right off the coast of Texas. And then much closer to the storm. This into motion. Bit of an eye wall trying to work and develop right here. Struggling, but there it is. There's a center of the storm right in this area. As the storm continues to make its way off to the northeast, it will become better organized. We will see deeper convection, as well as a more increase in wind speed and decrease in the air pressure. Where is the microwave imagery? I know it's in here. Sources. Oh, here we go. It's on the microwave imagery here. This is good right here. I'm just going to keep it here and then talk more about the rain moving into Louisiana, as well as right here, right off the coast of Mississippi and Alabama and Florida. We do have a lot of heavy rain making its way north. And then this was the microwave imagery I was talking about that So with the microwave imagery, as you can see, it's become better organized overall. The core of the system has become more and well developed, significantly better developed, which is basically just shows that the storm is beginning to intensify now. We can close that off from the dry air. That's what we're going to see as the storm closes off the dry air from intrusion. Then it's going to take off and we'll see rapid intensification. But until then, it's going to be a steady to slow increase in wind speed and a decrease in air pressure. Alright, so this is the latest radar. I'm going to leave this off here. So you can see all that rain making its way into New Orleans, Biloxi, Mobile, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama as well. This is a rapidly developing situation, so again, stay tuned to the Hurricane Watch team for continuous updates for the latest information specific to your area. Be sure to monitor products from your local National Weather Service office. This is the last thing I did want to talk about. You can always just go to the National Hurricane Center, nationalhurricanecenter.noaa.gov. Is it going to be a hurricane? Yes, it will be. All models point to a direction that this will intensify to a hurricane. It is only a matter of time of when this is going to intensify. The air pressure continues to drop, so I do expect shortly, possibly by this afternoon, we will see a hurricane. I do expect this between 90 and 100 miles an hour upon landfall there in south central Louisiana, near Vermilion Bay. By tomorrow afternoon, between 1 to 4 o'clock. Maybe later, maybe closer to the evening hours, we're going to see. Depends on all the timing with this. So right now, we think it'll be between 1 and 4 p.m. Possibly later is also possible. But again, the biggest thing, what to take away from this is there's going to be flooding, 6 to 8 inches for a majority of Louisiana. Some areas could see upwards of a foot. If you live in New Orleans, you're wondering if it will be a hurricane. So the storm will reach hurricane intensity. Go back to the graphics, show this. It will be a hurricane. What we have to watch out for is how close it gets to New Orleans, and we're going to see it is possible that New Orleans will see hurricane force winds, as based on what I see here, it looks like we have seen some more shifts off to the east, which means that New Orleans could be in the eye wall of this. However, we're going to have to closely monitor and watch this because we still have seen a lot of shifts in the forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Always expect this to be a category. Always prepare for a category higher. So if it's a category 1, prepare for a category 2. If it's a category 2, prepare for a category 3, so on and so forth. New Orleans will see a lot of heavy rain, again 8 to 10 inches. Some areas could see upwards of a foot of rain. Storm surge will also be an issue for New Orleans, as well as a very heavy amount of rain inflating and those strong gusty winds. So again, New Orleans is under a tropical storm warning. If the storm rapidly intensifies and is stronger upon landfall, New Orleans could be under a hurricane warning as well. All right. This has been the Hurricane Watch Team reminding you to stay safe and prepared as Tropical Storm Francine approaches. Thank you everyone for joining us. I will not be taking any other comments, questions, or concerns regarding Tropical Storm Francine. Here's the latest satellite imagery of Tropical Storm Francine. Deep convection bubbling up in that northern quadrant, wrapping around the center of circulation. And that is going to do it for us today, everybody. Our next tropical weather update on Tropical Storm Francine will be today at 4 p.m. Central Time. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay safe, and peace out. Another incredibly successful stream, over 60 views.